Hey folks, how's it going? It wasn't long ago when I looked at this Brand X frame that was dirt cheap and tried to figure out whether it was worth riding it on an actual trail or just keep it on the trainer. Well, a couple months later I have it built into an actual bike. I did ride it a little bit, so this is a quick bike check of a Brand X Hardtail. HT-01 is the model number. I've made quite a few mods to it, aside from covering it in this is 3M tape. I have an internally routed dropper port that I drilled, and I drilled out the cable stops all up here. All these mods are covered in a video that I'm gonna post in the description. I even decided to go for their headset. So this is a tapered inch and 1/8, inch and a half. The geometry of the frame is not the most current, but I thought it would make a nice trail bike. 68-degree head angle, 74-degree seat tube angle, 425mm chainstay. Again, this is a 27.5 bike. Cockpit, I built it around the Easton handlebars that I had in my parts bin. This is a 35mm carbon bar, 760mm wide. Specialized grips that I liked a lot. A little bell that is useful when I ride on the road mostly. Brakes, these are trusty Dior M6000, and in my experience the Dior brakes are probably the most underrated and the ones that gave me zero trouble over the years. This is a good old 10-speed Shimano Z. This was meant for more aggressive riding. It's something in between SLX and the Dior. So again, a 10-speed drivetrain. A good old Revelation fork. This is the 32mm extension that I modified to 130mm travel. This came as a 150, but it would have been a bit too much for a hardtail in my book, so that's what I did. I also changed the RL damper to this RLC. I don't think it makes too much of a difference because this is a motion control damper, so none of the sophistication of the current Charger. Air spring, again, it's simple, doesn't have a debonair. Moving down, you're going to see the caliper. This is with the appropriate mount for 180mm disc. This is the good old iStack XT RT86. And you're going to see my front wheel, which is not exactly the same as my rear wheel, but who noticed that so far? These are DT Swiss wheels that I found on clearance. I think I paid $250 for the pair. They're built around 350 hubs, which are very reliable, and this one has 25mm ID rim, so very good wheel overall. Tires that I've used are the Michelin Force AM that I reviewed recently. Really nice surprise. I've never ridden Michelin tires before. These are very capable, good rolling resistance. It took them a while to seal, but aside from that, I have no complaints. These are actually highly recommended by me. Yes, you do have a bottle cage that I've used to actually mount my dropper cable. I mentioned that this is something that I did. I am using, this is a Bontrager dropper post 150mm travel. I did cover this in the cheap droppers video that I did not too long ago. And the dropper remote is actually the Bontrager branded one as well. This is the new generation that can be integrated with any type of brakes you might have. This is from my good old transition bike that I sold recently, a WTB Volt. Moving down to the rear, you're gonna see the 160mm disc. And this was an IS2 post mount adapter that I needed, but I did cover this recently again in Shimano brakes A to Z, how to install. These are the cheapo, really cheap 3x9 speed from Shimano. 170mm cranks because I kind of like that length on all my bikes. And you can see this is a threaded bottom bracket. I decided to give a try to this BB52, which is the Dior bottom bracket from Shimano. I'm curious if it's going to last as long as the SLX or XT that I've used most of the time. Here on the drive side, you're going to see that my front uses through axle. This is a 104 BCD, which is very easy to find chainrings for. I'm using an absolute black oval 32 tooth, and this is a KMC chain that I had left over, and that goes with a good old 10-speed cassette. This is the closest I've ever been to a single speed, I guess. This is an 11 to 36. This is an 11-speed derailleur. XT GS, so medium cage M8000. I know there's a lot of people out there that are going to tell you that you cannot use 11-speed derailleurs with 10-speed cassettes. Well, I'm using it here. It works like a charm. I did that because I am thinking that at some point I'm going to install like a 1142, 1146 for the cassette. Tire clearance. This is again a non-boosted frame. You can see the 235 tire installed here, and that leaves me about 5 millimeters from the cornering knobs. Same on the chainstay. So I don't believe you can install a tire that's much larger than this 235 in this frame. However, I did try a 29er or 700C wheel with road or cross tires on the frame, and they fit just fine. So quite versatile if you're interested in something like that. The fork clearance, again, it depends on the fork that you're installing. This older Revelation, non-boosted as well, gives me quite a bit of clearance, so I wouldn't be surprised if I could install even a 2.6 tire in here. And as I mentioned earlier, my rear wheel is not the same as the front. However, this one uses a DT350 hub, so that's a ratchet hub. Very low friction, very easy to maintain, and very easy to change to the various standards. This one is a QR because the frame doesn't have a through axle in the back, so I had to use the QR end caps. Pedals are trusty Shimano M520s that I've used on a few bikes before, and with the pedals this bike weighs exactly 12 kilograms, which is 26.5 pounds. In this configuration, the bike cost me close to $1,000 Canadian. That's out-of-pocket money plus the few parts that I had laying around. So not cheap by any means. It's never cheap to build from scratch. However, the bike is safe. I know I can take it to the trails. I'm not gonna die, and it's fun to ride. And talking about riding, I did go to the local trails recently. Here's some footage from there. All right. This one. You know what? 130 millimeters on this bike, I think is just perfect amount of travel. I'm used to pushing harder than full suspension over there. Let's see how this goes. Woo! Digger. Fly. Look at that. bike rips, man. Holy smokes. So much fun. See some berms. Oh. Okay, so what's the conclusion for building a cheap bike using a cheap frame? Frame is the most important part of a bike. I bought this for 120 bucks. I used it on the trainer, but now that I built it into a real bike, I really enjoy riding it. 68 degrees head angle with that 130 millimeter fork, 74 degree seat tube, which is pretty good for climbing, 425 millimeter chainstays. This is a very capable trail bike that I'm gonna continue to run for the foreseeable future. It's my first 27.5 bike in quite a while, and I didn't expect to have this much fun with it. So what do you guys think? Interested in building something like this? Let me know what you think in the comments below. As usual, if you have any questions, don't forget to ask. Don't forget to like, subscribe, keep an eye on social media. And until next time, hope to see you guys on the trails. Why not riding a Brand X hardtail? Cheers, guys. Cheers.